Welcome to this Wednesday edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForrest, and burial is what it's been of late. We have to apologize for our selections the last couple of days here. I have another program I do with Mike Jones on a platform called Bleacher Brothers. I believe I might have had my first ever in a long, long time 0-5 week on that particular show. That ran last Wednesday. We'll have another one today. Try and redeem ourselves on that one. And then yesterday, I dabbled into an area. Just don't go into unfamiliar turf if you're going to be gambling. It's the simplest piece of advice. When it's just a guessing game, it's not good. Yesterday, a completely uninformed opinion that I rendered here about the Philadelphia 76ers. Probably should have done a little bit more research. Didn't realize that Joel Embiid was not going to be playing. The spread looked to be marginal, 3.5, 76ers over the Celtics. Celtics giving a decent account. There were many theories out there that Jaylen Brown might be better off without Jason Tatum, but it's hard to imagine. It's hard to think that Brad Stevens would ever come to the conclusion that the Boston Celtics were better off without Jason Tatum in the lineup. So you're thinking this is kind of not necessarily a throw in the towel season for the Boston Celtics, but a year in which they're going to be vulnerable against the better teams in the league, which the 76ers are starting to look like they might be, in spite of the fact that Embiid had missed a decent portion of the games they played. Well, he missed last night, and so did we. We whiffed. Strike right there on the outside corner as the 76ers had to rally. They're in pretty good command of the game through the first half. They're up 10, and you're thinking laying a 3.5 is not going to be too prohibitive, almost ready to count your money. But as they said in the classic gambling movie, it probably should be required viewing for anybody that's going to dabble in gambling, and that is the original version of the movie The Gambler with James Caan, where prior to this age of information, Caan leaves Las Vegas with the lovely Lauren Hutton and is thinking that he's going to cash on a couple of games. He's waiting for his bookie to knock on the door and drop off the money. And the guy pounds on the door. He's got some muscle with him. And the bookie says, "Where's my money, Axel?" Of course, Axel Freed was the name of the character that Caan was playing. And, of course, Caan looks at him incredulously and says, "Well, what are you talking about? Where's my money? You're supposed to pay me." He goes, "They don't pay in halftime, Axel." And he ended up losing both games after having big leads. We had the big lead in a 76er game last night, and then it was time to tie on a dilaudid drip, if you could. I just keep the portal handy now when I'm ready to attach the IV because 36-20 in the third quarter. The 76ers rally from the grave. They end up winning the game by 2 points. We go down in flames. And then our other selection, which was based on Akron's demolishing of a pathetic UMass team the prior week, where they crushed them like a grape and won by 30. That was a recommendation that we made based on the logic that was presented by another handicapper that we had been viewing. And I thought, wow, this makes perfect sense. And whenever it does, that's usually the time to punt and go the other way. Akron wins that game, so I'm thinking they should have the advantage and more than enough ammunition to beat a Kent State team that's played all right, but nothing special. Thinking maybe Akron's on a little bit of a roll. They were playing without the chance of going to a bowl game because of whatever problem they were having with their student athletes being students. And there was academic, some kind of retrograde where they were not eligible for bowl games because their athletes aren't going to any classes. And thought maybe they could sustain it. They end up losing in overtime. So our parlay not only gets crushed, and you know what we say, parlay is French for you're fucked. And even had we prevailed in that 76er game, we were going down to Kent State in overtime with the Akron Zips yesterday. So 0-2 on the program yesterday with, I don't want to say that they were blind picks. It made perfect sense to me at the time. But that's the unfortunate thing about handicapping and revealing your selections in public. And then thinking that you poor unsuspecting viewers are looking at a guy that's, well, he's got his own podcast. He must know what he's talking about. And here was clearly a case. And the way it's been going, I really need to be on a dilaudid trip because the last couple of weeks, in addition to being ice cold at the racetrack, these selections have been less than favorable. So we'll see what we can do today. We have some insight into one game. I'm not sure if the line has moved substantially and how prevalent this information was as of yesterday, but there is a rematch on the board of a classic that took place on Monday night. and that was between our own hometown Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers lost that game by 2 in overtime on a spectacular Andrew Wiggins inbounds alley-oop dunk right at the buzzer before the game was about to go to double OT. The Heat in that ball game were getting a couple of points from the Cleveland Cavaliers, but tonight that they're giving what I saw as 5.5 the last time I checked. But the word on the street is, and I'm not sure how obvious this is in terms of news to everybody, Cleveland is resting everybody tonight. They're going to play nobody. None of their stars are going to be in the lineup. So you're thinking with the Heat's proficiency now in scoring, they've been putting up a lot of points. They're a surprising 7-4, in spite of the fact that they haven't had Tyler Hero in the lineup. And the last couple of games, Bam Adebayo, who's not going to play tonight, has not been available to him. Hero gearing it up to come back, but won't be anywhere near the court tonight. He may be sitting there in street clothes, but he's not going to play. So Miami essentially without its top 2 players, but Cleveland's going to be going all scrub tonight. So our inclination, logic would dictate that Miami should be able to handle them at home and to lay the 5.5. But if we're giving that out, that is certainly suspect. So tread lightly, but that's going to be our pick today. Miami Heat, if you can get that number around 5.5, laying 5.5 to a starless and starterless Cleveland Cavalier team where they're literally just throwing in the towel on load management on this ball game, whether it's injury related or just the usual NBA circumstance where you pay money to see a really good team play, and then none of the guys. I call it little Johnny Jones syndrome, where somebody from Cleveland, Ohio, is kind of indoctrinated his young son to be a Cavalier fan. They were great last year in the regular season, ended up getting eliminated by the Indiana Pacers in the playoffs, but that was after destroying Miami. Just an incredible lopsided 4-game sweep where it looked like they were going to cruise all the way to the championship, and I would imagine some people were sending it in thinking, oh, okay, this one's in the bag. Cleveland's going all the way. They get stymied in the very next round by the team that eventually took the Oklahoma City Thunder to 7 games. The Indiana Pacers, who also this year have been badly compromised by injury with Halliburton out. They're sitting there at 1-10. Cleveland's been okay. They have had some compromise because of injury, but nothing to the tune that you're going to see tonight, where they're resting virtually everybody. But that's always a shame. Some guy is traveling maybe 30, 40 miles to get down to the Miami Arena, now known as the Kaseya Center. And it's not exactly in the most convenient part of town for the type of customer that would be paying big money to go see an NBA game. And then you get there and you find out, as has happened in the past here, where LeBron James comes back to town and decides to sit this one out, maybe not wanting to subject himself to whatever jeers were coming his way for having that second decision, a change of heart after 4 years in Miami and going back to the Cleveland Cavaliers and eventually on to the Lakers. You'll see this happen from time to time. You've been anticipating going to a game forever. You want to take your young son or daughter, and then you get to the arena and you find out nobody's playing. This is already known. Nobody's going to be there. So for the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight, going to go ahead and take a shot and lay the points with the Miami Heat. Interesting stuff going on all over the place. We do want to pay tribute to one of the great players in the game who unfortunately checked out, 70 years old, Michael Ray Richardson. And this was a guy with style, substance, and unfortunately, substance abuse. He was doing a lot of cocaine, massive pyramids of cocaine when he was playing for the New York Knicks and the Nets at the time, New Jersey Nets, and very, very talented guy. Most people would acknowledge, this is old school stuff. Talking about how great Elgin Baylor was, or Connie Hawkins, Spencer Haywood, those type of players. Michael Ray Richardson was more recent, but in that category, high praise from virtually everybody. He was suspended, had a lifetime ban from the NBA from David Stern for too many positive cocaine tests. Eventually was playing in Europe, got back into coaching courtesy of Stern's endorsement, and ended up straightening his life out. A very popular player, was always popular with quotes. He had some kind of Yogi Berra type of quotes that he had issued in post-game locker room interviews, the classic of which was in an exchange with a New York reporter. Ask what was the situation, what was going on with the Knicks. This was before he got traded for Bernard King. And Michael Ray Richardson says, the ship be sinking. And a reporter fires back, well, how low? And he says, the sky's the limit. So interesting character, a great ball player, a lot of talent. Did a lot of different things and did them all extremely well. Was an intense defensive player. Had hands that were grabbing onto steel or some form of iron. Made him a great player in terms of steals and things of that nature. A very talented ball player. Checked out Michael Ray Richardson. Probably didn't get the credit that he deserved for being at that level of greatness. And of course, his career cut short by his own devices and the unfortunate addiction that he had to that white powder. And at that time, it was even more of a struggle because it was so prevalent and rampant around the NBA. I don't think you see that much of it anymore. I don't even know how people could possibly function with the purity of the cocaine that was around when Michael Ray Richardson was playing. But somehow, more than one NBA player was able to go ahead and it's kind of like the greenies in baseball, where you're thinking, how could you possibly play juiced up on amphetamines like that? But Richardson compromised his own talents, and yet still had the kind of talent that would put him in anybody's book of Hall of Fame company. So, unfortunately, he passed away yesterday at the age of 70. Nico Harrison gets fired. Is that overdue? Nico Harrison, the architect, of course, with the Dallas Mavericks of the Luka Doncic. Many people would feel that was a giveaway. You got back Anthony Davis, the oft-injured Anthony Davis. And where's Anthony Davis now? Often injured. Luka Doncic prospering. He's setting records. Has bizarre point totals already early in this Lakers season. He's trimmed down. There's a classic piece of video where Luka Doncic, after, I believe, a playoff victory, has a beer in his hand. And, of course, one of the issues with Nico Harrison was that Doncic was seemingly and terminally out of shape all the time. And so Luka's got this beer in a post-game celebration, and Nico Harrison actually takes it away from him. And Doncic just gives a look like, what the hell was that? And the next thing you know, he's or soon after that, a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. People in Dallas revolting and revolted by that particular deal. Nico Harrison with the Dallas Mavericks off to a 3-8 start. Cooper Flagg is having to play out of position because of the lousy roster composition that they have. And so his beginnings in the NBA have been somewhat compromised. He's playing some point guard, even though that's not anywhere close to his natural position. And so after some very, very ill-advised moves, including one of the all-time blunder trades, or at least it's shaping up that way, we're expecting this guy to go much sooner than later. And he gets canned yesterday by the Dallas Mavericks. So that came as no surprise. Here's a surprise, though. I'm looking at a list of coaches. This was on CBS Sportsline. Coaches that are on the hot seat right now in the NFL. See if you guys find something strange about this. The number 5 guy, this is a list of 5 guys in trouble in the NFL that might be fired soon on the Ed Ogeron hot seat. Matt LaFleur, Green Bay, off to a 5-3-1 start. Not exactly the kind of stuff that you were anticipating after their big opening season victory. And Matt LaFleur, all of a sudden, has he fallen into enough disfavor to be fired? I don't know. I would think somebody would scoop that guy up. Sean McDermott, Buffalo Bills, after the disgraceful loss to the Miami Dolphins, suddenly finds himself maybe on the ropes, at least in the thoughts of this particular article. Raheem Morris, okay, you could see that. Stefanski with the Browns. Is anybody safe with the Browns? Pete Carroll, Las Vegas, just got the job, already supposedly on a hot seat. What's strange about that list is no mention of our own Miami Dolphin head coach, Mike McDaniel, who apparently, I guess that really was him trolling the Buffalo Bills fans. This, you would think, would get some kind of reaction from the league, where Mike McDaniel drove by a local watering hole here, a very famous place. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. The Elbow Room on the Fort Lauderdale beach. Buffalo Bill fans love to gather there, either before, after, or during games. The place is always packed when the Bills are in town for a couple of days. It's packed many times other than that. And, of course, it was resurrected in terms of its popularity when the Florida Panthers brought the Stanley Cup there as their first move after winning the championship 2 consecutive years. And, of course, you had the famous shot of Matt Kachuk taking the cup into the ocean. All these people drinking beer out of the cup. So Elbow Room, classic location, even though it's a bit of a dump. Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, after the ball game, drives by there and trolls the Buffalo Bill fans. You would think with the taunting rules in the NFL that this was far from the kind of dignity that you would want to see from an active NFL coach. But strangely, even at 3-7, and now playing a game in Madrid, and with most people speculating that this was a bit of an aberration, the Dolphins' convincing victory over the Buffalo Bills at home this past week, that McDaniel probably is toast at the end of the season. Stephen Ross never fires anybody, but he finally got rid of the general manager, Chris Greer. Surprisingly, in the top 5 guys that are on the hot seat in the NFL, at least according to this CBS Sportsline article, Mike McDaniel, even after these theatrics and antics that you would think would be totally contrary to the kind of dignity the Miami Dolphins organization has prided itself upon for all of these years. You can't see Don Shula doing that. Jimmy Johnson, but I could not imagine that this was something that was smiled upon by the upper level management, a couple of which personnel have already been fired by Stephen Ross. How is he not on that list? Pretty amazing that Mike McDaniel is somehow not even in the top 5 in terms of speculation of coaches that are about to get hammered and lose their job. A lot of interesting college basketball yesterday. Had Michigan beaten Wake Forest. Very exciting game. Florida survived by 2 over Florida State. Louisville was crushing Kentucky at one point. Ended up winning that ball game by 8. North Carolina with this kid Caleb Wilson looks like they might give a rise from their position now. I believe they were ranked like 25th. They knock off Kansas in a battle of longtime heavyweights in college basketball. So many interesting things taking place there as well, and certainly something that we'll keep an eye on here in future editions of Bury Your Bookie. But the play tonight going to be a simple one, and we're hoping to break our streak and make amends for yesterday's just vile 0-2, a loser leaves town type of result. And we're going to go ahead, and if this line stays anywhere near there, knowing that nobody for the Cleveland Cavaliers is going to be anywhere near the court, laying the 5 and a hook with the 7-4 Miami Heat over the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight at the Kaseya Center in a rematch of what was a classic that took place on Monday night. All right, everybody, have a great day. Good luck with all your wagers, whether it's hockey, whether it's college basketball. Got some college football going tonight. The Northern Illinois UMass game, one that we're taking a look at. Northern Illinois used to be a darling of us many years ago in the MAC. You could count on them going over, that they've fallen on hard times since then. UMass sucks. I don't know if I have the stones to lay 11.5 with Northern Illinois in this ball game, and especially after the beating that we took yesterday with Akron and Kent State. Going to stay out of that one, but certainly a full slate of activity for you to wager on. And hopefully all of your wagers will end up making you a profit. Thanks for tuning in. Heat laying 5.5 against the Cavaliers, who are playing nobody. That's our pick for today. And we'll catch you tomorrow on the next edition with Mike Jones on Bury Your Bookie.